Well, I mean, this is back in the day before we were taping all the time, you know. I've got so many, but I remember one was I went down to LA for like a pilot season. I would have been in my early 20s, and it was this awesome part. It was sort of like a period piece, and it was a 2-page monologue. It was for the CW. It was a 2-page monologue, and I you could hear everyone in there, you know, and a lot of these people weren't getting it fluidly. And I went in there, and it was the director, it was the writers, it was the casting director, big LA casting agent, casting director, and I did it and I killed it. I did such an amazing job, and the whole team was like, wow, like that was amazing. Like, we are gonna call your agent. Like, you need to know you did an amazing job. And I was like, thank you so much. And I left, and I got the call from my agents later being like, they love you. Like, you're right at the top of the list. They're just seeing a couple more people. And I obviously never heard anything ever again. And I remember calling my agents later being like, hey, like, how did the best audition in the world go? Like, what's new on that, you know? And they were like, forget it. It's done. It's in the past. And I think that was a big lesson for me. It's like, you can do an amazing performance, you can do the best job ever and leave with the most amazing feeling in the world, but it can all change. It's kind of a depressing story. I feel like I've got embarrassing audition stories, but I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ready.
No, I think that is a great story. I mean, that's the reality of things.
Mhm.
Sometimes you nail it, and the chips don't fall your way, and it doesn't have anything to do with your performance, which is why we often talk about our job as an actor really is to create that audition performance and then let it go. And if they
Mhm.
decide they want to move forward with you, they do. And if they don't, you're on to the next thing. But you did your job to deliver a great on the day performance at the audition, and that's all you can do.
Yeah, I guess it was the highs of it really imprinted upon me, you know, and the simple rejection of it, I think. It's just a very important part of it, you know. But it was satisfying to get that 2-page monologue down. I don't know if you guys ever get those where it's just so much material. And when you're live, when you're going in person, it's insane. It's the mental pressure you put upon yourself for that if you're a perfectionist like I am, you know? It's a lot.
Yeah, to nail every word, every moment, every beat. And ideally you get lost in it in the moment and you're not thinking actor thoughts like what's my next line, where am I? But that's a tough thing to do too.
Mhm.
Yeah. Any of those embarrassing stories you want to share, or we're gonna take a pass on that?
No, like I know there was one where this is again when I was like quite young. I remember my phone ringing. I had
Ooh,
like a Nokia phone. I would have been
right.
in my teens, and it was ringing during the audition. It was like this beep, and then it had this long vibrate. And I, at 14, it was in my purse, which was on the floor with like the other girls' purses. It was like a chemistry read sort of thing. And I decided that I wasn't going to own up to the fact that it was my phone. So all the girls like go looking and check if it's their phone, and I'm like, it's not my phone. And then
Yeah.
eventually I sort of go over like tail between my legs and like, oh, it is my phone. I didn't know, and do it. But it was like I was just, and it was I don't know who it was, but they wouldn't stop calling, you know.
Right.
Um, so that was a little embarrassing. And then a lot of it's phone related. Like, casting director got a phone call once while I was in the audition, and like it was a room with a bunch of people in it, but they're so close, you know, they're like 6 feet away from you, and he like answers, starts talking really low on the side, and I'm like, and I stopped the scene. I'm like, do you want to take that call? And I shouldn't have done that. I should have just said nothing. But God, I just felt this fury, you know.
Right.
It's like particularly it was an emotional scene, I think. Um,
So maybe the lesson to everyone involved on all aspects of things is leave your cell phone off or out of the audition room.
yeah, definitely.
That's funny.
Definitely. I had a cool one, and it was a job that I booked where I went in and I didn't have the lines fully memorized, but I had them close, you know, and I'm kind of going in, I'm talking around the words a little bit. And I left and I got a call from my agent and they said, go back. They want you to say it all just like you'd say it naturally. And then I just sort of switched the lines up and I would have been like, you know, 20-ish at this time, and I made it really cool and stuff. So that was a validating one. Nice. But now it's no stories. It's just my Wi-Fi cut out, you know, like that's the worst. Yeah. Although I had like a director producer like callbacky thing, and it was my first like Zoom thing talking to a bunch of different people. So I had the reader pinned and they were full screen, and then the directors and the producers and the writers, they were all little screens at the bottom, and the director was giving me these notes, but he was kind of a low talker. So I lean forward, and I'm like leaning forward, like really looking at the little thing. And then I see the square and I look like a psychopath. You know, it's just like my one eye sort of like looking into
what?
And yeah, and it was like, exactly. I was like an old lady being like, what's that? Like, speak up. So then I, stood back and I was like, yeah, no, I'm cool. I got that Deveaux cool.
Nice. One of my favorite Holly Deveaux audition experiences is when we first met.
Mm-hmm.
You were shooting, and I saw a few people for this role, and I think you were one of 3 that came into Actors Audition Club for the role of Marilyn Monroe in Future Man.
Yeah,
it was the first time we met back in, that must have been what, 2019, just pre-pandemic, 18, 19, somewhere around there.
It would have been 18, because I remember we had a good year without a pandemic after I did shoot that. But that was such a cool audition, and it was the first time I took those fateful steps up to the studio. And I remember I had like a week to prep for that one, which was nice because, there's a whole cadence and like a whole body thing and like movement and voice. And I really committed in a way that I only do when I'm given an opportunity to kind of do an impression of someone. And, at the time my hair was like very, very dark brown, almost black. And I had never really associated with myself as a blonde. Much less a blonde like Marilyn Monroe. But I doubled down, and I remember coming in and meeting you and just really feeling very comfortable there and able to commit to it fully, because the Marilyn Monroe vibe, it's like very sexy and very vulnerable and so actory in like an old-fashioned way. And I felt so great leaving. And I don't think I heard anything for like 3 weeks or a month after we did it. But I came back to you, so many times for other things back when you had that great membership deal going on. I loved that.
A deal too good to be true.
Yeah, but it was cool. And then they called me and they were like, you're top of the list, but they need to see you in a blonde wig. So I went running all over the city trying to find a blonde Marilyn Monroe wig, and found one. I should send you the picture, actually. Found one and took a picture in the backyard. And it was like mid-blink, so my eyes kind of did this like sexy like mid-blink thing that felt very Marilyn. And I was like, I'm going to send that one. And I did. And then it was such a great shoot, too, working with Josh Hutcherson, who is very, very talented, but also just like very cool and kind of feels like he approaches everything with this really nice childlike enthusiasm. So yeah, that was, I think it had been a while since I booked a job too. So it just immediately, I have these amazing associations with Laughing Vikings and like the studio now because of that.